All right, guys, it looks like we are live. Welcome to Jason Hebert Live. We have a special show for you today. We have another interview with the family of a missing person, which we will go into in just a moment. If you're not familiar with the channel, we do all kinds of true crime stories. Lately, we've been doing quite a few interviews with missing persons, but we also do serial killers, unsolved mysteries, pretty much anything that if it has to do with true crime, we do it. So if you're into it, go ahead, hit that subscribe button. Now, we're going to get into a pretty perplexing story out of Colorado. I'm going to bring up some pictures for you guys. His name is Jacob Paddock Weeks. He went missing on February 2nd of 2019. So as we wait a moment for the chat to fill up, I'll just give you guys some pictures here. Down below, you will see the information, and we'll go over it again of where to contact if you do have information. More so than pretty much any other case I have covered, Jacob's case has the least amount of people talking. In a lot of these cases, friends, family come forward and give details. Sometimes it ends up being nothing. You know what? I didn't bring up sorry guys, there's the pictures. Sometimes it ends up being nothing when you get the tips and you just kind of circle back around. But in Jacob's case, it seems like not many people are coming forward at all. So if pretty much any case that we've covered yet, this one really needs to get out to as many people as possible, because if the right person sees it, we could have someone coming forward. It's not like we've had a bunch of dead ends already. Very much so. There hasn't been a lot of talk regarding this. Now, his parents have tried to contact people. They've just haven't had good luck with it. So we need you guys to share this as much as possible, especially in the area, which we'll go into in just a moment, in Colorado. But pretty much everywhere, because you never know who knows who and who knows what. So let's get into it real quick, and then we can introduce our guests. So on Saturday, February 2nd of 2019, near Indian Hills, Colorado, a truck belonging to Jacob Paddock Weeks was involved in a single vehicle accident on Highway 285, crashing into the guardrail and spinning the opposite way on the road. A man resembling Jacob was seen by a witness exiting the vehicle, walking across the road, and going up towards the mountains. Jacob Weeks was never seen or heard from again. Left behind in the car were Jacob's cell phone and wallet. Exactly where he was coming from and where he was going to that morning remains unknown, although he was coming from the direction where he used to live with his girlfriend. Jacob had gotten into an argument with his uncle, who was younger than him, a night or two before. And as Jacob's family attempted to call him all weekend to ask about the fight and what had caused it, they couldn't reach him. So by Monday morning, they were worried sick and filed a missing persons report. Nobody in Jacob's life has come forward to tell his parents where he might have been in the hours and night prior to his disappearance, or where he may have been going. Jacob's girlfriend posted once on her Facebook about his disappearance, but has since seemed to close up. Jacob's parents have tried to call some of the phone numbers in his phone for answers, but have been treated less than kindly. So they are out of answers and are hoping that you may know something, anything, in relation to his disappearance. No matter how small the detail, it could lead to a break in the case. So please come forward if you know anything, or if you know someone who may know something. Tonight we have George and Amanda Weeks here to tell Jacob's story. Guys, I want to thank you for coming on the show tonight, and I'm so sorry for what you're going through.
Thank you for having us.
Well, thanks, my pleasure. So why don't you start by telling us a little bit about Jacob and lead us into what we know on the day he disappeared.
Go ahead.
So smart man, always ladies first.
Yeah. So Jacob was, the oldest of 3 siblings on our side, and then the oldest of 2 siblings on his mother's side. We tried to keep life normal and happy for all of them. We did lots of things together as a blended family. He seemed to be happy with that.
Yeah, he was always a good kid when he was young. He always, like the rest of them, got everything that they wanted. He was in the sports. He was in the riding skateboards. When it came to skateboard stuff, like he would always get the top of the line, whatever was coming out at the time and stuff. And so we spoiled him. Um, and so we didn't see too many issues when he was young. So, but yeah,
So about 4 years ago, he was living with us, and he moved in with his girlfriend at the time, and they lived together for 3 years.
Okay.
They broke up in December before his accident of 2018, and he was staying on and off with his grandma. On February 2nd, he was involved in a single car accident in the mountains by Indian Hills, Colorado. He was the person that fitting his description walked away from the scene of the accident, and we haven't heard from him since then.
Okay. So we are pretty sure that this was Jacob, because not only was it his truck, but his wallet and cell phone were left behind, correct?
yes.
The state patrol believes that he was the one driving the vehicle, and
Okay,
they
and they're the
responded.
Sorry. Sometimes it's like a second delay. It's my fault. It's the delay. So if it sounds like we're talking over each other, we're not. Not intentionally anyway. Okay, so we do know it's him now. Do you want to get into, in the weeks before, he seemed to be acting a little, I think you had described it as paranoid, maybe a little more anxiety than usual. Something he had struggled with a bit, but it had gotten worse around the time of his disappearance. Do you want to get into any of the specifics on some of the things he said or did that showed he had, more paranoia or anxiety than normal, and why that might have been?
Well, we know Jacob did use drugs, and he was a drinker. So we wasn't sure if maybe it was just the drugs that would make him more paranoid, like people listening in on his phone calls or whatnot. Because like when we got the phone story of the phones being in the car, the SIMS cards were actually out of the car, out of the phone, but they were both in the vehicle. So he took the SIMS cards out, but they were both in the vehicle when the police took all the evidence out of the car. But so that's more the paranoia thing, and sometimes he would say things that were a little off the wall, but the majority of the time, he was pretty normal besides that. And then, but he did like to drink, and then, as of course everybody knows when somebody drinks, how they act when they drink, So, but yeah, he did show signs of being paranoid.
Okay. And so he had said a comment. So he dealt with a little paranoia anyways, maybe induced by the drugs, but he had even said something about maybe lizard people right before he went, kind of indicating that maybe it was getting even worse. Just so everyone can have an idea of his mental state as it happened.
Yeah, and I guess before he did disappear from the accident, it was getting a little bit worse. It seems with paranoid, and then yes, he mentioned like the lizard people thing, which we didn't understand at all what he was talking about. Kind of hard when it comes from somebody that doesn't do anything like that.
Sure.
Like we'd be talking about lizard people, and then but yeah, he did show signs of that, and then sometimes he would show signs of maybe seeing people that weren't there or something. But so we knew maybe that was part of the drugs or just his paranoia, or we don't know.
Okay. We do have a comment from the Grotto. He says, I've worked insurance cases where people get into accidents or got into accidents, and because of being concussed, they walked away. If he was inebriated, that would make it worse. So that is a possibility you guys have considered, I understand. But because of the mountainous terrain and the weather, it's been quite difficult to search, is my understanding.
Yes. And then yes, as he said that, the bad thing is like that. A lot of people say if your son had a concussion, or maybe even it was the drugs, and he's been acting different, he's just living on the streets, that even the street homeless people, do have minds. Some of them just have bad backgrounds, maybe PTSD or whatnot. But But don't you think there's someone would have been picked up by the cops by now, or questioned, or even the people that he hangs out with would notice something's wrong with him? And obviously, if you're talking to somebody and he's like, hey, I ain't got no family, and and he's 20 some years of age, you're going to question and be like, well, maybe we need to get him help. And it's never happened. I mean, he's a missing person out of Colorado. He's on NamUs. He's on the NCIC and all that. So if he's talked to or questioned by any police, that he would be picked up. We just haven't had anything.
And how extensively have you have called any hospitals or shelters or anything like that in the event that he is a little confused? Have you really looked everywhere that he might be?
In the first couple months, we did call hospitals, and we were looking online at the different jails and trying to see if we could find out. HIPAA laws make it pretty hard to get for sure information from hospitals, but the first few months we were calling everywhere trying to see if we could find out. The state patrol who responded at the time of the accident believed that they responded to the accident. They thought that he had down off the mountain. So we at first were told from them that, he made it down and he wasn't in that area. So it made it really hard. And then 4 days after the accident, we had a really bad blizzard in Colorado that made it hard to do any searches for quite a few months because of the snow in that area.
Okay. And if someone does want to help in a future search, is there somewhere that they could contact you guys?
So we're planning on setting up another search here in the next few weeks, possibly to a month, and we'll post it on his Facebook page. It's Missing Jacob Paddock Weeks, or Missing Jake Paddock Weeks.
Okay, yeah, guys, and even though I put Jacob Weeks in the title, it is Paddock Weeks, Paddock, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so I'll put once we finish with the interview, I'll put that page, and if you guys want to put any of your personal pages, we'll go over all that for people if they want to contact you or help out with the search, even more so.
That'd be great.
So the direction he was coming from would have been where he had lived with the girlfriend. Of course, we're not making any hard accusations. We were actually not making any accusations. We don't know. We're just simply telling a story and the characters we know involved. So anybody listening, again, no accusations. But that would have been the direction where he lived with her. But he had also, because he had lived there, he had a lot of friends in that area, right?
Yeah, I'm
so
sure he had
anywhere.
quite a few friends in that area.
And he was actually working up there too in stages, but like doing construction at people's houses in their mountains and stuff like that, helping build decks and things like that. So we just don't know.
Okay. So, and he was heading home is what it looked like, right?
To us, yeah, but we just don't know why. He was heading in that direction to where he would go, but it was in the morning, so we don't know why it would be up there at night and then come back in the morning. Unless he went up there in the morning and it was coming right back. We just don't know.
Okay. Yeah, and again, the state police do believe that it was Jacob. There always exists a possibility someone was driving his car and resembled him, but of course, given all the factors, we do feel it was him. Now, Jacob had gotten into an argument either a night or two before with his uncle, who happens to be younger than him, but they're really good friends. Can you get into kind of the details of that, just so we know his movements in the couple of nights before?
So Jonathan is his uncle. He's younger than Jacob. They're all really close. He was raised alongside Jacob. He'd spend a lot of time together, and they had more like a brother relationship. So I mean, it's just kind of hard to. We don't think Jacob or Jonathan did anything, but they were like brothers.
Right, and they had gotten into an argument while driving or something like that.
Yeah, so Jacob had picked Jonathan up from work, and I don't know where they were going, but Jonathan had tried to take a drink of Jacob's beer and kicked him out of the truck and left him on the side of the road.
Okay.
And Jonathan had gotten picked up and taken to detox.
Okay, and that was possibly the night before, right?
Yes.
Okay. Has Jonathan did they have since they were close, did they have shared friends, Jonathan and Jacob?
Mm,
Or was it separate groups?
it was probably more separate groups because of the age group, and Jacob was kind of doing his thing up in the mountains until, him and his girlfriend started actually to break up. And so I think a lot with Jacob was just his girlfriend, him trying to figure out life to live up in the mountains. But and Jonathan was in town, and Jonathan doesn't drive. But when the breakup started happening, he'd go back and forth, and that's kind of when Jonathan would hang out, and then, or even our son Jared, who's Jacob's younger brother, would hang out all together. But usually Jacob was trying to do that, and then I think a lot of his main friends were work friends at that point, that he would work with during the day, and then have his girlfriend, when he's at home.
Okay. Yeah, so I was asking not to be accusatory towards Jonathan, but I was just wondering about the shared friends, if he maybe could, if there was anyone he had contacted to see, but it sounds like they have different groups of friends, so not too much luck there. Now, speaking of friends, so a couple people have come forward. Like you have heard some stories that it might not even been Jacob driving. Now you're not overly convinced that they're true, but can you get into those and who's saying that?
Yeah, well, there's throughout this, you have media is a big thing nowadays. Like our other kids, they have Facebook and stuff, and they do probably have the same friends on a few of them on Facebook. So when Jacob disappeared, and it's been quite a while, I think some of these kids that knew Jacob, and maybe like even our son Jared or Jonathan, spoke out. Like we have a kid named Matthew, and he had mentioned that he thinks maybe Jacob seen something he shouldn't have, and he's buried up in a barrel up in the mountains, and nobody's ever going to find him. And now this kid does want to help out and like get people involved to help search, but because he thinks maybe something bad happened to him. So, with all these leads, we do send them to the police department, and nothing's come out of any of that. And but yes, we've heard the bad stories. So your mind can wander. It can wander into a lot of places on what you think could have happened. And with Jacob and being involved with the drugs, he may have seen something that he's not supposed to. So we don't know. Go ahead.
And I'm sorry if you answered this, but did you say he said why he thinks that? He just heard it? Did he say who he heard it from or where this rumor was originating from?
I don't think exactly we got all the way through it. Just because, when somebody's telling you that they think your son might be buried in a barrel, you kind of just like, you don't know if you should beat up them or somebody else.
Right.
So I took it as, I don't know. Sometimes, like I said, my mind's going a million different directions on things, so I don't exactly probably ask the right questions like you said, to where I probably get different answers. But
well, you're dealing with the heck of a lot. You probably got a million things in your head. It's hard to. I don't blame you.
Yeah. Well, it's just like when we did have a sighting in Texas. So with that, because of all over with Facebook and all the groups we're in, somebody fitting his description was seen in Texas. We sent the cops out there. They questioned the kid. It wasn't him. And then somebody had mentioned that on their thing, it doesn't even show that he was missing in Colorado. So that really pissed me off. So I actually stopped a police officer that was sitting in a parking lot and asked him to look at my son. And it shows here that he's missing. But then it even said a little something on like where the direction he was last seen at. And I didn't even think about it then because I'm just wanting the one answer for the one question. Is my son, I want to make sure my son, if he's picked up from the police, he's showing he's missing around the United States. And I don't have to sit here at night and worry that he's seen the cops and they let him go and nobody's ever said anything. So,
Right.
I mean, I don't want to have to sleep and think about that every day. I want them to do their job and make sure it's done.
Okay. Well, speaking of that, Tammy Spang had asked, have you tried to follow leads yourself or just given to police? I know you have followed some leads. And then she said, are other police helpful?
So following leads, when it comes out of state, we have not left state for leads like that. But yes, in Colorado, especially when it all started coming out, we would have people say, well, I think I seen him in Boulder, or I think I seen him in here, in just different surrounding towns of Colorado or Denver. And yes, as a parent, you got to drop what you're doing, drive out there, and just start putting up flyers and asking people. And we always get the same thing, that everybody, when we get there, are like, no, we don't know who this is. We've never seen him. So we figure with our time, since we're there, we put flyers on things and wait for the next thing.
We haven't really had a lot of leads in the last year and 7 months, but a year and 7 months is a long time for trying to keep his face out there and to have people remember that he's missing. You know, it makes it kind of hard.
For sure.
Because it's a long time.
Right. People forget.
They do kind of.
So now with Facebook being so big, if we do get a lead, we do send the police, or we do give it to the police for them to follow up. Or in one time, we got one from a gas station, and we actually had to have them go through their camera, and then we got the police involved. And on the camera, it wasn't our son; it was somebody else. But yeah, every lead has to be followed up, and then when it comes to the helpful thing with the police, we're in a boat with a lot of other missing kids or adults that no, we don't get much help. No, I don't know how to put that nicely, but or sugarcoat it, but yeah, it's hard to get help. Your son's of age. He's had a background, a history. They know drugs were involved because there was like contraband in the vehicle that that when they took it, it wasn't drugs, but it was stuff that belonged with drugs, so they knew it probably had drugs in it. But they're waiting for him to be picked up from the cops, and now that they know it's been a year and 7 months, and I push on them, all the time. I'm on Facebook groups with them, and I'll actually call them out on Facebook, to where I call them out enough to where sometimes they call it a harassment, or me, I call it my First Amendment. I'm going to speak my mind, and just to keep them to do their job. That's all I want. But if you go too far, I'm at that point where if you go too far, they're not going to help you anyway. If you don't do anything, they're not going to help you anyway. So what do you do?
Right.
For me, I'm going to push them, and maybe that'll help us.
Yes, I think the squeaky wheel gets the grease a lot of times. So you might as well just keep pushing. If they're not, like you say, if they're not helping anyways, then what are you losing, really?
Yes. Yep.
It's a shame because it's so common. Yeah, a couple of the people in the chat, as you know, plenty of parents with missing children too. A couple of them are people that I've interviewed, and same thing with that. Like Tammy Spang, for example, was my very first interview, and she's run into roadblock after roadblock when it comes to authorities or just people not caring, not calling back. She sends an email, takes 3 days. It's kind of sad. I mean, I get that they're busy, but you think they would at least make some effort to tell you, hey, I care. I'm just busy right now, so give me the time. But they don't even give you that.
No, and what's sad too is we've even been told that when a missing persons detective, and they have one out of the whole county or whatever it is, gets their plate, and there's 40 missing people, where is your son on their priority when it comes to young kids, females, runaways? They're going to prioritize, and it's sad to say, but everybody should get the same treatment. And I think I've said that before about like a young man missing in Coral Springs here. His name is big. It was all over. Stepmom ended up murdering him, but I said bring out the whole army for him, but at least get a little army for my kid. And we just never had that army. So
hey guys, and anyone in the chat, if you're in the area, they could always use some help with searching or just finding information, pretty much anything. So if you're in the Colorado area or plan to be, please keep that in mind. The Grotto had said cops with a question mark. No public department or public figure can block people on social media. It's been upheld twice by district courts. If they block you, fight it.
Yep.
Uh,
Yeah, I've never been blocked. I figured I might get blocked once in a while, but I'm I don't know if I like the page from our county or something, but I get their posts on there, and they post sometimes. They post an endangered person, which is like a 70-year-old, 80-year-old person, and they call them endangered because of medications or dementia or something. So I just post back to them, I didn't know you can do this, so put my son's face on there, and they said, well, your son's not endangered. And, you know, well, to me, I showed them the definition of endanger. So you can tell me if my son was in danger at the time he got in the accident, that's questionable. But after a year and 7 months, is my son now in danger, or is he not even alive? You tell me. And, you know, the cops don't respond to me half the time because, he gave me his law book on the term of endanger, and, you know, mine's out of the dictionary, his is out of the law book. But yeah, if they're going to say something, they better be able to back it up.
I mean, if nothing else, the car accident should result in danger, right? Even if you want to go off all the other factors, if he had a history and all that, that shouldn't matter at all, first off. But let's say it does to you. Why not the possibility that he hit his head in a car accident? That sounds like danger to me.
Yeah. Well, and that's what we've always tried to say.
Well, and they believed, investigating the accident, that he hadn't hurt himself, that he wasn't bleeding, and that he was not physically hurt that they could tell. So that's probably why he's not put as endangered, even though
and that wasn't
an accident.
And that was said at the time of the accident, that they think he made it down. So what would that put in everybody's mouth to feel is that, oh, he made it down. So now at that point, everybody was feeling, you know, the first get-go was not he's a missing person, he made it out. So everybody's thinking he made it out, and then all of a sudden, well, nobody's hearing from him. Maybe he did make it out. And then, you know, and it took us a long time to get the police to actually understand that there's something wrong. You know, if something's right, you know, we wouldn't be talking right now. I'd be sitting here knowing my son's in Mexico drinking a beer, but we don't know.
Okay. Okay. We have a couple comments, couple questions. The first is, I know you had mentioned that you had drone search, something about drones you had said earlier, but Christina Lovesund asks, have you contacted Wings of Mercy for drone searches? Are you familiar with them?
Not the Wings of Mercy. No, I don't think they've done adequate things with drones, and I know drones nowadays are really sophisticated with their radar and sonar and stuff. And we'd like to get something better out there with that type of scenario. We've had a couple people that just do that as a living and probably have nice drones. Ask if we want help or go up there and maybe do it on their own. We are involved with an organization which is in Colorado, which is FOVAMP, Family of Homicide Victims and Missing People. They took on the case to look into it, and then that gives them the right to ask questions or talk to the local police and everything. And they actually brought a drone out just to scan the area, and we're not sure exactly what came out of that, but we definitely want more of that. The most thing we've had is dog people. We have Colorado Forensic Canines in Colorado, and I think they search more than they tell us, or at least they can even use it as a training for their dogs, you know, because they're in Colorado. So why not use my son's case and bring the dogs up to the mountains and look for something? And so we don't know exactly when they do it all, but we know they do, but nothing's come out of that.
But there was a hit, I understand, by one of the cadaver dogs, right? Can you go into what happened there and what we know for sure?
Yes.
So when the dog went up there, it was about a year after. It was in April that we met him up there. The dog searched the area for a while, and it alerted this April of this year, and alerted into a small beaver pond area right there by where the accident was, or a creek. Beaver Creek.
A beaver dam in a creek.
Yeah. And
Okay.
so we when they said that the dog alerted, we had called Jefferson County Sheriff's Office to have them come out and take over and look into where the dog alerted. When we called the first time, we had told them that the dog had alerted, and they said that they would have somebody out there and meet us back up at the spot within about 30 minutes to like 40 minutes. And so we went back to the spot and waited, and we got no response. We waited, and there was no officer that showed up. So George called back again a second time, and the dispatcher told us that they were busy in town because it was a weekend, and that they would have somebody come out as soon as they could, but that they were just really, really busy in town. And George, we got upset. We're like, our son may be in this spot. Why isn't it important enough to have somebody come find our son? And so she ended up transferring us to the sheriff for the sheriff's department up there. And he said he was coming in an unmarked car, and he would be down the mountain in about 30 minutes to meet us at the spot. And then about an hour later, he came down. He sent another officer down, and the sheriff did not actually come. And when that officer got out of the car, he was not the nicest. He immediately rudely asked for our IDs. He kept us separated from the dog team and had us stay on the side of the highway while he went down. And they were told that we had never said the dog alerted. So George called back a third time saying that, I'm being recorded right now. And dispatch said, yes, you are. And George said that when we had called the first time, we had said the dog alerted. And the dispatch officer at that time said, no, I'm reading the report, and it does show you said it alerted. And so at this point, we're upset because they're not taking it seriously that our son could be in that area. And they took like 2 hours before they even showed up.
Okay. Seems like everyone that, even when they help, some kind of issue going on.
Sometimes, yeah. So, but they ended up closing off the scene at that point because it was 6 o'clock at night, and they secured it and checked the scene the next morning. They had divers come in and get in the water that was only a few inches to a foot deep and search the creek bed, and it came back that Jacob was not in that spot.
Okay, but could that have meant that he was there at one time, and then maybe with the storms or whatever got washed away, or because
that is a possibility.
And this would have been right beside where the car came to a stop on the highway. So it's
right beside.
What's that?
I'm sorry. Right beside.
It was across the highway down the embankment in between the highway and another road.
So we would have had to cross through that creek if he went that way, or if he was in the vehicle, he would have went that way and probably walked through that water. So there could have been a scent there. And then when it comes to dogs, they can't exactly say when something like that happens what the dog sent on, but it sent it on something. But but Jefferson County Police did not bring up their own dog to redo it to make sure that's correct. But I don't know in the dog world if that's what you do, is bring in another dog to make sure that dog is actually alerting on something like that. But we were not there when they searched. They did it in the morning before we got there. But they said, they searched it all. They did move some stuff around because we did see that it was moved around, but we don't know what all they did, but we're hoping they did a thorough job.
Okay.
And we also have COVID now to worry about because, it's hard to get anything out there to help, even searchers, because of COVID and now with the other issues, with all the rioting and the police issues, like even our second missing persons detective was there for probably a month and some, and actually just started talking to me, after I vented and let people have it. He started talking to me, and a week later he said he's retiring. And that's when all this rioting and police issues are happening. So a lot of police are, if they're able to, are getting out of the field because there's a lot of stuff going on with them right now.
Yeah, he got it at the right time, I guess, for him.
Yeah, but it doesn't help us either.
Right, exactly. And this is your third, right? So you're now on your third detective.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Which, like you said, that doesn't help because sometimes information doesn't transfer over. Or, so we get a few.
Well, we were told Jacob's file was pretty much empty, though.
Really?
So, Yeah. So
Okay.
It doesn't seem like there was many tips, and I don't really believe that the sheriff's department did much investigating in the beginning.
Yeah, I want to go over that because of any case I've dealt with, this one seems to have the least amount of people coming forward. So we're going to have to try to find out some of these names. Even if we got to go, I'll help you. We got to talk to some people, and if they won't talk, we got to try to make them talk. But before we get into that, we do have a few questions from previously in the chat in regards to our earlier conversation. Christine Parinello had said every person with an addiction or mental illness should be considered endangered. They are vulnerable citizens. I agree. If they have something going on like that, they should, that was in reference to us talking about he wasn't in danger, the cop said, or whatever. There were many reasons to consider him in danger. So
yes,
Yeah.
I don't like
we agree.
And then Heather M says, I'm in Norco or NOCO. I believe she means Norco, North California, right? And I always share Jacob's flyer. I grew up in Bailey, and I am familiar with the area where he disappeared.
Oh, she might mean she's in northern Colorado too. So
when I said California, I meant to say Colorado. Sorry, like my last three were in California. Yeah, NOCO, Colorado. I'm sorry. I said California. Sorry about that. Stephanie.
We want to say thank you for everybody
you.
sharing, and we appreciate it.
Yeah, guys, thank you so much, and keep sharing. You can share this interview, obviously, but share his posters, share anything you can, because somebody out there knows something, or they know somebody who knows something. So please, guys, keep sharing it. Stephanie K asks, have you asked Equix, EQUAX? I don't know how to say that. Equax for help? Are you familiar with that?
Yes, I'm really familiar with that. She's talking about Texas EquiSearch. I do believe, if I'm wrong, let me know. But yeah, I read about Miller's story and his daughter disappearing, especially as they got further in along and they started looking for Vanessa Gillian. Like I said, I watch a lot of stories, and that's the girl out of Fort Hood that disappeared, and Fort Hood's got a lot of problems they got to face. But yeah, that's when I really started paying attention. But I know they're based out of Texas, but I do post Jacob's flyer on their page, hoping for. And I don't know if I've spoke to them on Messenger, because I don't mind. The worst you can get told is no when it comes to that on Messenger, or they just don't respond. But I think I've reached out to them. I don't know exactly, just on Facebook or if it was Messenger. But heck, I've even messaged Mark Zuckerberg. I don't care. So yeah, all I can do is say no or not respond.
For sure, not in the loop, right?
Well, I mean, it's hard too, because as a parent, you don't know what to do or where to turn when something like this happens. So everywhere we've turned, we've had to find on our own or find who to ask for help. And so, I mean, it's all sadly learning as you're going. Yeah.
And yeah, you guys need more. I know you've had a couple of people help you, but you need more help. So I'm going to do everything I can. Again, I'm not some kind of professional private eye or something, but I'm pretty good at getting people to talk. So I think I could help a little. And anyone in the chat, if you have any skills you could lend to this, of anybody we've done, they probably need it the most, because they're not getting much help.
You can say something.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
And recently we've had some people come forward that have been trying to help and to help us get it out there. And so, I mean, it's starting to go.
Oh, good.
But of course, we need more help, and we need more people to search that area to see and rule out that he's not in the area by the accident.
Yeah, that's the main thing I was thinking, is you just need some bodies just to walk through, even if it's for a day or two. That's kind of step one. And the fact that hasn't been done yet, like extensively, is kind of. I know you guys did it, but
hard area. It's a hard area to search, and you need more than just a couple people. You need quite a few.
Right. Yeah, that's what I mean. It's a shame that like 30, 40 people or something haven't been able to come together and assist. I hope we can create kind of a snowball effect and get more. Because I know you guys have done it already, but like you say, a couple of people can only do so much in a mountainous area.
We do see Christine in the chat, and she has actually come forward to try to help us out. So we appreciate you, Christine.
Thank you.
Is that Christine M or Christina Lovesund?
It's Christina
Parinello.
Parinello.
Oh, okay, the other one. There's a few Christines in there. So, Chris, the reason
There
I'm
is.
asking, yeah, Christina Loveson had said that she strongly recommends calling or contacting that Wings of Mercy. She said they'll help. And I'm sorry.
I was going to say thank you, and we will contact them to see if we can get their help because we had not heard of them.
Yeah, they have members from all over the world, she says, and they're volunteer based. So that sounds good.
Thank you.
Going into a few more questions from the chat before I kind of.
And then the last thing about the Texas Equisearch too is that they got real busy with Vanessa Gillian. So I just don't think it was wrong timing with that too, because as I got more involved with Facebook and trying to look for help and stuff, and they were busy on that. But I don't know what their future endeavors are on what they're going to next. But you never know. It might be something good for them. The Colorado mountains,
Yeah, for sure. That would be great if they, can allocate some more resources. I know that probably. I think that's a heck of a case too. That Vanessa Guillen or whatever it is.
Yeah, well, and there's many others. It's just her name kind of the one that got it all opened up. So you definitely have quite a few missing, soldiers or whatnot out of Fort Hood that is not good. Nobody hears their names except for hers. But yes.
Okay. So Stephanie K. Oh, she just says the owner. I think she means of Wings of Mercy. I don't know if she means Equix or no, Equix is Tim. But you said you've spoken to them. Yeah, she said he's awesome and he's about helping families.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, and they have a Christina Loveson says check out their Facebook page. They have new software. This is Wings of Mercy. They've done 1,000 hours of searching for Ryan Stuka. I actually interviewed his mom a few interviews ago, so she's just strongly recommended them. Thank you, Christina.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For sure. And Stephanie knows someone that knows Tim with Equix and will tell them to put this in his ear to hopefully get maybe some more people on it.
Yeah, we would appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, they really need that, Stephanie. So please talk to Tim because any help they can get, for sure.
And Tim is also needing donations too, so I spread that on Facebook for him and his organization. They're looking for donations for keeping it going.
Oh, awesome. So anybody listening, if you can help, please do. Tammy Spank says, everyone needs an army. So sorry it's taking so long for you. She's correct. And she knows it just as well as you because, like I said, her daughter is also missing. And, you can't, two people can't do it alone. Like you say, you need an army. You really do, especially in the mountains.
Yes.
And that's crazy for her to say that because I have always said that it takes an army. So.
For sure. Now, so what do you guys? I know that the friends haven't really come forward. You've tried to talk to them a little. I think you said when you call people on the phone, they weren't very kind. I think you had said, or just they weren't very friendly. Did you know his friend? Obviously, he was older. He was doing his own thing. But did you know his friends well before this? Did he have a couple childhood friends, or was this a whole new group of people because he had kind of gotten into, the messing around a little? Or
Yeah, a lot of them that he would be speaking to at the time would be newer friends, and probably part of that, maybe even some that were drug dealers. And
I think some of them were work friends from the construction he was doing too. And
did he work with George too? I thought the other guy had said.
He did when he was younger.
Mm-hmm.
But as he got older, he ended up switching and doing construction, building decks. That was around the same time he moved to the Bailey area.
Yeah, I got both my sons into the same stuff I do because I was in a position to do that and being higher up at work Jared, the younger one, he does it once in a while, but not with me, but he's done it with some other companies. And then once Jacob was done and he was older, he got more into welding and then construction, so he kind of went that route. But yes, they both worked with me when they were younger, which was enjoyable most of the time.
Yeah. So you didn't know. The reason I'm asking is so there weren't too many friends that you're really close with that you can say like, "Hey, Bill, where the heck was he? What's going on?" It was mostly like a newer group.
Yes, and see if we had more, um, if we had more like his biological mom, Jessica, has his phone and then the records. But like when I originally got him, I didn't know who the people were, and I wasn't the nicest when I asked questions because my son's missing, and if you know anything, let me know. And a lot of these people, especially if they weren't the best people, any which way, were, I didn't really get no info from them, and I probably wasn't the nicest either. So
But I mean,
Right.
when he first went missing, we posted on his personal page. We made a missing persons page, and we've shared as often as possible, every day, every other day, every week, to share that he's still missing, that we still haven't heard. None of his friends have ever come forward saying, "Oh, I talked to him at all," the day before or weeks before. Nobody's come forward to say they've heard from him.
Okay. If someone wanted to try to speak to them, be it me or anyone else, are you familiar at least with their names on Facebook, who these people are, or do you not even know his current group of friends that he had?
no, if whoever would want to do that, we're open to that, and we would probably have to just go through his Facebook page and look at his friends to say, okay, I've heard that name, I've seen that person, I know this person, or yes, that is somebody that he's known most of his life or something. We're willing to do all that too. I mean, that's something the cops never suggested.
I think that's a good route to take.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
For sure. Do you have access to his Facebook and/or Messenger account?
His Facebook, yes, and his mom, I do believe, does have the messenger. And I think FOVAMP, which is that family of homicide victims and missing people, are reaching out to her to get that so they can actually look into the messenger part of who was he talking to and those. Because we don't even think the police actually helped out with much of that either. Didn't the state patrol have the phone for quite a long time?
Yeah, so the state patrol had his phone for about a month after the accident, and it took them about a month to a month and a half to release it to Jefferson County Sheriff's Department, where he was a missing person. And then it took another month after that before they actually released the cell phones back to us, to his mom.
So because the state patrol did it for the accident, so they didn't even look into the phone really. But then once the missing persons thing, like she said, a month and a half later, they were like, oh, maybe we'll get the phones and look through. We don't know exactly what they did either. And then people talk about pinging, which I'm big on now too, which I explained.
I was going to say that, yeah.
Well, a lot of people when I see it on Facebook, and I know because they don't even have a flyer yet. They just throw out a picture of maybe their kid that's missing or somebody. I try to help them get a flyer through groups that I'm in that do that for them on Facebook, and get the right info out there. But pinging, like the cops don't want to ping phones. I guess it's hard to deal with. It's like HIPAA laws with the medical. Dealing with the phone company to ping a phone, especially when it comes to something like that. So, but yes, we get told roadblocks every time. Just like we were always told it's 3 days before you can call somebody missing, and it's not. I mean, but we were told that too, like everybody, and they're missing right away. You can call them missing within 24 hours. But so we try to, now that we learn those things, to spread that to other people when they've never heard those things either. But yes, pinging. We've actually helped a family find their daughter that I think was a runaway with the pinging the phone, and they did ping victims. Yeah, in Colorado. So,
oh, cool!
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah. Well, and the state patrol didn't ping his phone because of him being just in an accident. They didn't see a reason to do it, and then Jefferson County, for some reason, when they took his missing persons case, I don't believe they pinged his phone either, which I don't know why.
Okay. That's actually. I'm sorry.
Oh, I guess before the podcast, maybe we should ask them if they want to join. I have no problem.
For sure. As for the cell phone, you kind of made me think. So I know he was an outdoorsy kind of guy. That was one of his hobbies, right? Like the woods and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Would it be like him to leave his cell phone in the car and go outdoors, or would he bring his cell phone to do that?
No, he would always bring a cell phone. His cell phone, just like the rest of, we're outdoorsy. You know, we live in Colorado, but you know, it's part of it with camping and everything that you just put your phone in your pocket with your wallet, and then you know you get your tent or whatever and fishing pole, and you just go for it. But the phone and the wallet would always be with him, so it's just a little confusion on all why that would be in the car.
Well, and so
He's in a rush, obviously, but
yeah, so he was actually the police, the sheriff, state patrol think he was going 80 down the mountain. So we're trying to get pictures from the state patrol of the inside of the truck to find out if possibly the reason he left it was because maybe it got lost in the truck when he came to a stop. But we're trying to get that through the state patrol.
Yeah, like maybe it was on the seat, and when he did hit the guardrail, it went everywhere, and in
Right.
the big push to get out, he left it. But that was the only smart thing the cops have ever told me was he wasn't scared of us when he was doing 80 miles an hour, so why would we think he's scared now? No, it kind of makes you sad because yeah, you're like, yeah, you're right. You know, he's not scared, so where is he? You know,
right. Yeah, and Heather says, and it was February, Heather M. That's correct. So yeah, he not only got an accident, but it was cold. He was in a rush. Yeah, freezing and cold. I mean, I live in Boston. It's cold enough, but you guys are up in the mountains, so it's probably even colder up there.
yeah. Different kind of cold, but we know Boston is cold.
Yeah.
But yeah, and that's the other side of the story too. Is it did snow real bad. Everybody can look at that 2/2 of 19 around that area. That day after we had like a big
Yeah, it was
blizzard.
like Wednesday we had the big blizzard, and here in Colorado, just like 3 to 4 days after the
Like
accident.
snowed for 2 days, and he was, if it was him, he was in a hoodie and regular shoes and everything. So we don't know.
Yeah, do you want to go into exactly what you know he was wearing? A black hoodie, right?
Was it black hoodie?
So I believe the witness said it was a green hoodie, possibly a baseball cap, jeans, and tennis shoes.
Okay.
But that's just from the witness statement on the state patrol report.
Okay.
But then again, as you know, though, which again, it's when your mind is wandering. If that's what Jacobs wears, what does his friend wear too? You know, they probably all wear about the same clothes. I mean, yeah, or even if they're not friends, and they could have possibly done something with him. But yeah.
So you're leaving that possibility open that it wasn't even Jacob there that day.
Well,
Yeah.
that's the hard thing is, you know, anybody can look like Jacob. You know, he's blonde haired, got a beard, and wears a hoodie. That's a lot of Coloradoans. So I mean, you know, any stranger can say it was Jacob, or it could have been somebody else. We don't know for sure because it's a stranger who saw a kid getting out of his truck.
And it's something you got to sleep with every night. You know that me and Jacob's mom didn't stay together. That's one boy that I changed his diapers. I fed him with a bottle. You know, I had to burp him. I had to do all those things that I didn't have to do majority of with the older ones because Amanda was around. But I did that for him, and he would have told me if he mentally or physically is still here, he would have said something, and just nothing. So yeah, you got to sleep with it every night that he could be gone.
Right. So a couple questions. Stephanie K asked, was he in a police chase? I mean, we know he wasn't, of course, right?
No, he wasn't.
Oh.
He was just driving down the mountain. Like I said, we don't know where he was coming or where he was going. The witnesses at the accident are the ones who told the police that they believed he was going around 80, and then their evidence from investigating it showed around 80.
Okay. And Heather M asked, was anything found at his residence?
So at the time of his accident, he was technically living out of his truck. He was staying on and off at his grandmother's house on his mom's side, but he was staying there on and off. So most of his possessions at the time were in his truck, and everything was left in the truck.
Okay, and that's because, like, what, 5 or 6 weeks earlier, he had just left his girlfriend. He had lived with her for 3 years.
Yes.
Now, and he does have possessions that I think they put in a storage unit, like one of those containers, metal containers that she has up there that we have not.
We haven't gotten into or anything.
Because we were actually looking for something for dogs to scent on, but you know we're new to the dog thing. But some scent on fear, some scent on cadaver, and I guess it doesn't have to be our son's cadaver scent. It could just be any person's cadaver scent, but if it goes off fear, they would like an item, and we just never been able to get a good item of his. So,
Okay. If for whatever reason Jacob is just choosing to be away, if he has something going on, he's trying to protect you guys, just kind of stay away from you, and he does listen to this interview, and you could speak to him, what would you want to say to him directly?
well, we
We love you and we just want to know you're okay. That's it.
Okay. So Jacob, if you are out there and for whatever reason you're choosing to stay away, they're not telling you can't. They're not trying to give you a hard time. They just want to know you're safe. So one quick phone call, and then, you know, you're an adult, so you can make your own decision. But people are really worried about you and don't know that you're all right. So if you're out there, please give a quick phone call. Is there? We're going to go over contact information as we finish up here. But is there any details that I didn't think to ask that you feel would be important for everyone listening, whether it be that day or before or after?
no, just that you know, like we mentioned earlier, you know, he's missed a lot. We know things that he's missed that he would have never missed. You know, one of his grandma died, and you know, we're hoping for the best. We just don't know what it is anymore.
Right. So yeah, he's missed some holidays of two, of course. But did you say grandmother and someone else had passed? Was it more than?
Well, it'd be his grandma, which is Jonathan's mom, the uncle.
Okay.
So Jonathan actually lost. You know, we don't say lost Jacob yet, but you know, Jacob disappeared, and then he lost his mom, which is Jacob's grandma, and Jacob for sure would have been there. And then my mom is really important to Jacob too, and she's not in the best of health, but you know, he'd definitely be here to make sure everything's okay.
He missed his youngest sister on his mom's side's wedding too, and during all this as well. So there's been a lot of moments that he's missed and that he has missed.
Quite a bit.
Yeah.
Okay. If somebody has a tip or knows something, or even maybe has an idea that we didn't bring up that they want to send to you, and we will give the information for the police, but is there a good way to contact you guys? What's your preferred method of contact for you directly? If you want it.
You can message us directly on Facebook or on our pages, or even Jacob's missing page. We look at that all the time. And then the tip lines are on the posters.
Okay.
Yeah, like plans, and that too. In regards, in the beginning, we didn't know what we were doing. We put our phone numbers on the posters, and we started getting ransom notes, and you know, people saying that, you know, they have our son, or whatever they want to say, that if we send this money through some kind of program, that, you know, we can hear them or get them. But you know, a lot of that stuff is all fake, and it just eats at the people like us that are missing our son or loved family members.
Pretty much the most despicable thing I could imagine somebody doing is that.
Yep.
Unbelievable.
Yep.
I'm sorry you had to go through that. I don't even know what to say to something like that. But unfortunately, I hear that a lot. Since I started doing this recently, I hear that a lot. I didn't think that would be the case, but apparently people are that depraved.
Yeah. Well, we talk about it on Facebook, and I do feel bad for, like, maybe some ladies that, you know, might have lost their husband and they left money, and maybe their kid vanished. They'd be offering this money and be just out of it. And it's sad, but I guess another profession for somebody is, you know, the misery for us.
Right. So sorry, guys. As if you don't have enough problems, you got to add that on top of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
or if you do want to contact them, I will put George, Amanda's, and Jacob's missing page, George and Amanda's Facebook page and Jacob's missing page under this interview. It sometimes takes a couple hours for it to upload. To render or process or what. I'm not a good tech guy. Whatever the process is. Once it fully is on YouTube, I'll put everything up there for you guys to contact them. The tip line, and it can be done anonymously, is 970-287-9082. That's the anonymous tip line, 970-287-9082. Or you can contact 323-244-0982 or 720-788. That's your. I'm guessing because you have it on the flyer. Yeah. Did you want your number?
I don't mind it. I mean.
Okay, sorry. I just started on the flyer, but as I started reading it, I said, "Wait a second, that's the number."
Yeah, but I don't mind it. People can call me with ransom because they can come over and I'll give them the money. But yeah, I mean, those are flyers we all handed out in the beginning, so they're everywhere.
Okay, that's what I figured. I didn't realize it was the cell till I almost read it. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no, that's all right. And then
I remember the 666. I said, wait a second.
And then the other one's a tip line, yes, from an organization that brings in tips, and we actually try to help them too with missing people. You know, if we can help out, they're from Colorado. If we can figure out a way to help, and since we've been going through this so long with people, we try to help. You know, and like we talked about earlier, we have a big group of families that we all talk on Messenger together, especially like the missing Texas, East, and beyond. You know, we all talk because we all kind of give each other support and stuff on, and talk about the same stuff we talked about now with not getting help, and
we try to offer ideas and support to each other.
And yeah, that's awesome, by the way, guys. I commend you. So anybody listening who didn't quite catch that, they're helping other families that are going through what they are. Similar to Tammy, a lot of you guys, Tammy had done an interview with me, same thing. She was going through it like you guys, and then decided, you know what, let me try to help other people who are going through this because I know the horror that it is. So yeah. I commend you all.
And her name was Tammy?
Yeah, Tammy Spang. She's actually the first interview, not the first interview I did, but the first missing persons interview. And she's actually become a good friend of mine. We talk every day. And she came back and hosted an interview on like my 7th interview. So, yeah.
That's really sweet.
Yeah, thank you. I'll tell her. And she was in the chat earlier. I don't know if she's still there, but she was one of the ones. So we did get a question from Stephanie K. First she said scammers are heartless people. Sorry, and she said no, that's a scam. So they do know that, Stephanie. Thank you, and thank God they didn't, pay anything or anything. But she did ask. No blood was found at the accident site. I think you said no, right?
No, the State Patrol didn't find any blood or anything to show that he was hurt anywhere from tracking or anything. So, which
was their reasoning for he's not in danger. There was no blood.
Yeah. And then they believed he made it down. So.
Okay. So on top of the Facebook links, which will be at the bottom, guys, you have the number for the police, the anonymous tip line. If you want to be anonymous, that's fine. They just want to either know he's safe or know where they can find him, one or the other. But, if you don't want to give your name, call the anonymous tip line, but give the tip is the important thing. You could always contact me. It's jasonhebert100@gmail.com. Don't contact me instead of George and Amanda or the police. That wouldn't really make sense. I wouldn't recommend doing that. But for whatever reason, if maybe my channel well, so you're comfortable sending it to me, fine. I will pass it along, of course, but makes much more sense to contact the authorities or George and Amanda. So I strongly recommend you do that. Did I miss anything, guys? By all means, if you want to tell a story about Jacob or anything like that we get all the time in the world if you want to think of any details.
No. I think
we covered everything. We just want to say thank you for having us on and helping us to get his name out there. And thank you everyone for your ideas and your support and your help. And we really appreciate everything.
and when we start going in the stories, I break down a little bit.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, understandable. But I don't want to keep putting you through that. Sorry. Stephanie Kay said she will get the word to Tim. You have her word.
Thank you.
And so what I do now is it takes a little bit of time for it to upload, maybe an hour or two typically. Sometimes it's instant, sometimes it's 3 hours. But whenever it does, I get a notification and I start putting it in all the groups. And so we'll see how it does by morning. Usually it does pretty well. So we'll get every eyeball we can on it.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you, Jason.
Thank you,
Thank you.
And, thank you to the chat for hanging out. And we will see you guys next time. And subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a great night.